Now, at this stage, I want to add another layer to our discussion before we move forward. And I call these the intangibles. The question from the Crafting a Digital Print workshop was about making an image more pictorially interesting. That was what was quoted back to me. But for us, it goes beyond that, because to be more interesting also means to be more interesting to more people, which means we need the image to not only carry our story, but the possibility of carrying other stories. So ambiguity is a key component in what we're doing, in helping us answer our other questions. Why would I use this tool over that tool to do this color grading? Why would I remove, and how do I know what to remove from an image or to add to an image in order to bring about this effect? So it's not just pictorially more interesting, it's also increasing the possibility that the image can be read in multiple ways. And if, as an artist, you are striving for the unknown, seeking revelations which cannot be known only through reason. So a priori, we're apprehending these precepts above and beyond our reasoning about them. For an artist that strives for the unknown, okay, when we're trying to increase a narrative that extends beyond my own on behalf of others that often I don't even know. The problem is, if we think about all the theory, what we're trying to achieve these revelations, all we do is make pictures of the theory, because that's what's in the forefront of our mind. So we need to practice this to the point that it becomes intuition. It becomes part of our intuition. And I think of intuition as an evolutionary process, in the sense that it's a progression from one encounter to the next. So we practice and we practice and we practice the first principles, which is what I'm trying to show you even with gamut compression. First principles are the richest basis or foundation on which we then develop intuition. In other words, through this understanding and execution repeatedly, not just muscle memory, also cognitive memory, they then rise to the level of intuition and help guide us as we seek these revelations. And it's a lot of people just say, just play with your images in Photoshop. No. Playing should be informed consent. You should give your consent to mucking around with your images, because it's not about fooling around, hoping something will arise. It's about methodical practice that then enables you in the heat of the moment when you release that shutter. All that pictorial design is built into your seeing, your framing, your staging, your exposure, all the way through to what we're doing now. This begs this other question, which is, how do we work this stuff out? So I'm going to look at a couple of images. One has been submitted. Another is an image that I've chosen from Southwest Light Project some years ago, because I think it really makes obvious on a screen what I'm about to show you hands-on. Consider this. Now, in the real world, before we had television screens glued to the back of our cameras reporting what's going on moment by moment, a Kodak Raton number 90 monochrome viewing filter. We would use this to help reduce the color contrast and the tonal contrast of the scene as held up to our eye, gazing at the scene in front of our camera. With black and white film loaded, we had all of these physical attributes. And when it came to print making, we had color print viewing filters in degrees of increasing color filtration. And I still use these. I will look at Sean's painting quickly, in and out, because our brains adapt otherwise. Just like we did in the analog darkroom, I'll hold this up to Sean's painting. That's a little cool, that's a little warm, to then understand diagnostically what to go back to Photoshop and start working on. These physical tools still exist out here in the real world, and we can still use them no differently to how we've always used them. So now let's have a look at how to do these diagnostics to help us understand this stuff in a program like Photoshop. Easy as. So here I've got an image which has an extreme color composition, but also very subtle tonal composition. And there is a version of my Kodak Raton number 90 monochrome viewing filter. I've just sampled those colors. It's in various notes and resources for different workshops. And you can just see, just like it does in reality, it helps reduce even these extreme color contrasts. So I can then notice the distribution of the tonal composition and so on. how many friends of mine, cinematographers in particular, who carry around a really dark neutral density filter, which they pull out, not to put on the front of their camera lens, but to look through so you can see where the highlights and where are the shadows. And so these are really simple things. That's just a layer filled with black blended on darken, where I can adjust the ND effect by changing the layer opacity. So I offer those observations to you to remind us that what we did in the analog darkroom and what some of us still do in the real world is just as applicable in Photoshop. And remember where we are in our list of topics and our list of questions. From the Crafting a Digital Print workshop, this idea about some images, again, those intangibles, the revelations, the ambiguity, more pictorially interesting. Sometimes it's not always adding to an image, it's subtracting from an image that reveals the structure, the tonal color and drawing composition structure that refines it, resolves it according to our feelings, our intellect, or whatever the metrics are that we bring to the party. All right, but how do we actually figure this stuff out? How do we work this out? I've already shown you some of the tools, but there's also this technique that we see in our painting studios at university art schools all the time, where I hold up to my monitor, just a finger will do, and I block one element out, one of my eyes, and then I put it back in, I block it out, I put it back in, I block it out. What is this corner doing to my image? Off, on, whoa, what a difference it makes. Look at the concentration on me now, my face, what I'm saying. So covering up something, you've got to do this quickly. If you just hold it there, everything will end up looking the same. So just to your monitor, just holding this up. On our monitor, literally just holding this up. Closing one eye, of course, so you're not looking around corners, so you can really align your fingers carefully. Even just your hand to block out that element and put it back in. But you've got to do it quickly before your brain has time to auto-adapt. So this still works today. Now, with that in mind, let's have a look at this submitted image and see the moves that I've made, which are a combination of both some of the Photoshop Masterclass actions, which will also then set us up for the segue into which tool, which color model, which tool do I use to do what, when, and why. But now it's about this idea of distractions and their removal in the aid of structure versus the addition of structure to existing structure, increasing contrast in the tonal composition, for example, adding structure to existing structure to enhance it or valorize it even more, compared to removing elements, and especially in the drawing composition. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So here is our base image. Nothing's clipped. We've got a good starting point. What's the first thing that I do? From the masterclass, I'm going to reattach the highlights. Whoa, straight away a little more three-dimensional. I cannot resist. Reverse the lighting in the image, reverse overlay masking at half strength, 50%. That's all I need, before and after, before and after. So what am I doing? I'm trying to do the absolute opposite in this demonstration. In other words, my metric, my intent right here, right now, is to create the opposite feeling to what I feel I've been presented with. Now, my reading of this image is it's quiet. Maybe it's really early in the morning. The birds are just starting to wake up in the forest. I can just start to hear their bird calls in the distance. Maybe it's chilly and I've got a parka on. So what's the opposite of all of that? So I'm working spatially on the tonal composition in order to reverse the definition of space and time to a certain extent within the image. Straight away, the enhanced shadow separation action. And this one, I'm running half strength and greatly separating and enhancing all of the separation below middle gray, having no effect on values above middle gray. Then using the vibrant saturation slider and remembering it helps the separation of blues and yellows, cyan blues and yellows, and then changing the time of day, maybe much earlier in the morning. Now, here we go, starting on the drawing composition. This is all tonal composition. This is color composition. I'm turning that layer off and on. Some elements you can see being spotted out. Some elements, such as these dust spots on the sensor, are less easily seen, but now I've pointed them out to you. And if I zoom in a bit, you'll then be able to see these elements. Now, what was that question? Not always adding to a structure, but sometimes removing distractions helps resolve the underlying structure. Just look at how much calmer my image is. Look at how separate these intervening layers are. Off and on. Look at this. Now, of course, there's lots of other things which I can fix up around edges and so on. So that's removing, but look at the clarification. And that's where we're coming from, and that's where we've got to so far. Whoa, look at how variegated this quadrant is, how calm and gentle that quadrant is. There's another action, enhance presence 3D plus, but where am I applying this? Let's have a look at that layer mask to add even more separation and contrast, to further spatially push and pull this image apart, restating the missing third dimension, and then the memories and other associations, the intangibles that then start to erupt as a result. Oh, but hang on. I've got a qualifier on there. Whoa, there's my blend if on gray. Where what have I done? I've feathered the highlights, so all of that enhancement is constrained to that area. This is luminosity masking, one of the many ways we can do the same thing in Photoshop. Now, soft light luminosity action, and there's a subtle 50% opacity mask being applied. Turn that off and on, pushing that even further away, using the great remove tool. When it works, it's magnificent, where I've just removed what I felt had become extra distractions. Now, of course, this is not for photo twitchers who are interested in capturing the world in that one unique, honest documentary frame. It's all in camera. It's the prowess of the photographer's ability to be there at the right time in the right place, waiting for the light, waiting for the Cartier-Bresson decisive moment. So, of course, none of this applies to my friends who are the photo twitchers of the world. This is all about the intangibles. This is all about our side of the lens. Now, let's turn everything off and on, and you can see how I'm radically redefining our relationship to the image, tonally, spatially, and in terms of that drawing composition. And, screen. It's empty, it's transparent. Let's turn that on. It's blended on normal, but did you see what happened to the image? Off and on. Oh my goodness gracious me. Because I've just got my beautiful brush tool and I've blended on screen with a 10% opacity, painting with white. I've shift-clicked a diagonal across there. Remember this path, not from today into the future, but from today looking back into the past, if you follow the iconography in classic European culture of how spatially images were organized for hundreds of years in order to tell narratives about forward visions versus memories, nostalgia. And I want this image to be about remembering about being in these places, not just being there. Let's turn that off and turn that on. And the effect, it's me drawing above and beyond the drawing that the lens has given me. And this is Photoshop at its very best with masks and brushwork and so forth. And then just checking with all the manipulations I've done, I've still got a black point, and increasing that transition into my black point to even further separate the forest, turn everything off and on. Now, that is what I mean, or what I was intending to imply in the Crafting a Digital Print workshop when speaking about sometimes it's not adding, sometimes it's subtracting. That's how you resolve what you want the image to project. But remember, this is not for the photo twitchers. This is about the intangibles, the revelations, about things that enable us to know, to be, to just understand before we even start to reason about that understanding. So hopefully I've done a half-decent job. Thank you for the submitted images, of course. Always a pleasure to look at an image for the first time. I did that this morning while I was waiting for you all to log on. And of course, I'll send that back to its owner with all those adjustments so you can, in your own time, the distinctions. And here are some of the different ways that we go about trying to evoke and bring into being what I like to call the intangibles. And thereby, meaningfully, in a wonderfully intuitive way, play with our image, not muck around with it, play with it to discover other things.